And let me go ahead and start. Going to go live, broadcast this thing. And well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. I'm Jim Grant. And another messages of inspiration, hope, and support. We're so glad that you're here. We're hoping that you tune in. Most importantly, the very reason why we put this show on is to be able to provide inspiration, hope, and support to people in their hour of need. And if it's okay with you, I'd like to show you a little bit about where some of the other speakers who have been here before, or I've got their messages posted, and the speakers you see today, their messages will be there as well. Let me share my screen and take care of a little techie stuff here and pay some bills, as the old saying goes. Share my screen, okay. Oops. This is speakerspathway.com. Don McGrath and I, we founded the company, and we have all sorts of free complimentary gifts there. I mean, everything from TEDx training you see up there, that's free course that Don created, but messages of inspiration, hope, and support. You can see the different speakers here. You can see their topics. You click on see more. And we've got several pages here of speakers. It's got their information there. Tremendous stories from the heart. And just a lot of inspiration, hope, and support. As you can see there, we've got we got 10 pages and we're adding to them every day. Also to Don McGrath and I, along with Bill Heinrich, we created the 6-minute webinar. We're in pre-launch right now. So if you'd like to know more about the 6-minute webinar, you can join us on Facebook at 6-minute webinar. But we're here today to hear some great inspiration, hope, and support. And the first young lady that's going to be joining us today, let me do a little techie work here behind the scenes. And I'm going to give her the spotlight video. And I need to cut off Brooke's camera for right now. Brooke, we'll see you in a few moments. And I need to mute that channel there. Okie dokie. And Regina Rosa Celeste. What a beautiful name for a beautiful lady. And we were talking about that earlier, because the way they had the name printed for me, I says, "Oh, is your name Rosa Celeste?" She said, "Well, yes, my first name is Regina." And, oh, okay, they had it reversed for me. I forgot to look up there where the first and the last was, because I was thinking it was the first name and then the last name, but they reversed it on us. But today, you're going to be talking to us about creating success through our messes.
I sure am.
Wow. I tell you right now, I've had to do that a few times, but I'd love to hear it from a positive perspective, like I know you're going to deliver. Let me do a couple things first before I turn the stage over to you. Let me shut off my video and mute my mic. And Regina, the stage is yours.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much, Jim. And I want to say thank you so much to Speakers Coalition for inviting me to share with you a little bit about what turning our messes into successes actually means in a world like ours. So let me start by asking a question. How many of us, or how many of you would raise your hand if I asked you if you feel any stress? Anybody feel any stress? Well, I'm giggling because so many times we feel like we are alone. And the truth is we're not. We are actually in what I call an interesting time in our lives, because we're actually, more than ever, I think we are actually at a critical mass point where we are actually more together than we are separate. And it doesn't always happen beautifully. It doesn't always happen effortlessly. In fact, what I've learned, and a lot of the people that I feel privileged and gifted to live life with, I've learned have similar stories where their messes were actually what gave them and provided them the most success. So a couple people that I wanted to illustrate that and ask if anyone's heard of Michael Jordan. Did anyone ever hear about Michael Jordan's story and how he was actually thrown off of his basketball team in high school? A lot of people didn't know that. And what's beautiful about his story is that he is now one of the most successful not just basketball players, but athletes. He's known as one of the most successful athletes in all of history. Another example is Walt Disney. Many people might not know that Walt Disney was criticized and also ridiculed. A lot of his teachers, in fact, told him that he was dumb and that he wouldn't amount to anything. And now we have not only Disney World, but we have Disneyland, we have stores, we have merchandise, we have themed groups and events and even businesses that are all surrounded around Walt Disney and his concept of a place that was not yet built. Yet he had the fortitude and he had the insight to be able to see what was possible. He also, as far as I'd learned, he had filed bankruptcy at least once. He had lost lots and lots of not just money, but also relationships, and suffered, and he went through a very dark time in his life. Another person that is known to have had some messes, Oprah Winfrey, a powerful woman in history who was told that she would never amount to anything. In fact, was told she wasn't fit to be on TV. Look at her now. One of the most successful and probably powerful women in all of the world. Another example is Albert Einstein. I love to reference Albert Einstein because he was coined, and many people know or perhaps have heard of this, which is he when asked how did it feel to fail 1,000 times, he said he never failed. He just learned 1,000 different ways to do it. And that was regarding the light bulb. So example after example of people that fell forward. And so what I want to emphasize today is just this reminder that if we're not failing, we're not trying hard enough. And there's a saying that failing forward, which is all about leading with intention, leading with heart, and leading with purpose, right? And stepping back into my own experience for a moment, you know, I can share with you not too long ago, actually, just in the last couple of years, I myself have gone through quite a bit with my family. And I was actually planning to have a slideshow today. And then I thought, you know what, I'd rather just connect without the slideshow. And I love visuals. I'm a very visual person, but I also like sharing stories, and I like expressing through dialogue. And so I wanted to share with you today a little bit about my own personal story of turning my messes into successes. And, you know, when I think about my life growing up and how I was raised by two immigrant parents who came from Russia and didn't speak English very well, and they didn't have very much money, and believe it or not, they still don't, but they work really hard and they do their very best. And my mom, who's now 75, and my dad, who is also 75, have lived a very determined life, and I'm very proud of them, and I'm very proud to be their daughter. My mom last year was going through chemo, and we didn't know how much time she would have, and this was the second time that she was faced with cancer. And at that same time, a month after she was diagnosed and started chemo, we found a mass the size of a lemon in my dad's brain, and he was given 6 months to live. And needless to say, life was hard. Life was really hard last year. And as a family, we didn't know what we would do. And there was times we didn't know if we could pay the rent, or not the rent, but our business rent. We didn't know if we would be able to pay for the mortgage and have a roof over our head. I ended up moving back in with my family to help them. And not only is my mom, knock on wood, healthy and strong, I like to say that my mom has 11 lives. She's like a cat, but with extra lives because she keeps coming back. And my dad is doing wonderful. He was operated on, and he's doing better than he was before. He is a very, very thriving man. He's a happy man. He's the dad that I remember, and even better. A couple of things have changed a little bit. Some, you know, treatment, and I guess I would say some situations as a result of the surgery. But, you know, the beauty of life is that when hard times happen, we can become stronger. And when we're able and willing to see that those messes, whether they are instituted upon us, or we attract them, right? I do believe in the law of attraction, and I think that we are very powerful beings. We're very powerful humans. And so I feel that it's our responsibility to find the peace within our hearts and find the joy within our spirits to be able to continue even when things are hard, and especially when things are hard, because that's when we really need that extra encouragement and that extra support. And so, I share with you from a very humble place that those dark times of suffering and feeling hopeless and feeling like, what are we going to do, right? What am I going to do, right? How am I going to help my parents? How am I going to live my own life and, have a thriving career of my own and a family one day of my own if I can't even help my own family, right? So maybe you're listening, or maybe you're watching, and maybe you're asking yourself these questions, especially with the times the way they are right now. The landscape looks quite different than maybe we're used to. And what I want to emphasize and just remind us all is that what we do have is we have our breath. And we have this moment. And nothing is guaranteed. We don't come into life with a crystal ball knowing what our lives are going to look like. And many of us who have goals and are ambitious, we like to think that we can control it all. And in reality, sometimes the messes are inevitable. So instead of asking yourself, why me? Maybe ask yourself, why not me? Why not be the most amazing, abundant, beautiful, handsome, successful, powerful you that you can be? Leaning on support of conscious-minded and like-minded people. For example, the Speakers Coalition, bringing people together that are supportive and kind and compassionate, and really working with people, coaches, friends, mentors, and family that support you and want to see you in the highest light possible. And so I feel very honored that I get to do this. I get to share my message and my messes, because now my messes have become my successes. And I'm super, super grateful for that. So again, thank you so much. I want to thank Speakers Coalition for having me. And I love this work. I love platforms to be able to share. And, if we can all embrace the messes with a little bit more grace and have gratitude and ask ourselves, what is this here for? What is this experience here to teach me? Then I guarantee you we'll also be able to find the success and the opportunities to grow from those experiences. So thank you so much for having me. And the best way to reach me, thank you, Jim. The best way to reach me is actually by texting the word yoga to 64600. And you can also reach me online at internalpeace, PEACE, now.com. That's internalpeacenow.com, or you can text the word yoga to 64600. Thanks so much.
Wow. When you were doing your presentation there, I mean, goodness, what really impressed me when you're talking about your parents, what they're very, very rich in is the very things that money cannot buy.
Yeah.
And the love and the family that you've got there, my goodness gracious, I mean, that's something that a lot of people would just, love to have that they don't have. And we look at some people who have a lot of money, who may be in a spotlight of life and all that, but their life is a shambles and their life is a wreck. And your message of, when things, how you come together when things are not going well for the, the loved ones. I mean, that's what life is all about. And Regina, I tip my hat to you, and I'm so glad that your dad is doing better and your mother. I mean, if you just like to give a shout out to them right now, please do. I'm gonna give you. Go ahead.
Mom, Dad, Alex, and Julia Ozeransky. They're probably not watching right now, but they'll watch the replay. I'm very proud of them, and I'm blessed. They're my heroes. They keep showing me what's possible.
Great, wonderful. And if I was you, if they won't watch you when you're live on the the program, just say, oh, yeah, there's a $5 charge for for the replay.
Yes, that's a great idea.
Yeah, it's like I tell people when they're guests on the radio show. I host the Your Future Is Now on the TogiNet Radio, TOGINET.com radio every Friday at 11 o'clock. And the beauty in being live is that, like one guy was saying, he says, how many millions of people are going to be listening? I said, well, to be honest with you, I said, it's going to be your mother. It's going to be some really close people to you and people who are interested in what you're doing. But the biggest majority of people, and this is the beauty about podcasts and also the replay, is that people get their information on their own schedule. And so that's the wonderful thing about you being here with us today, Regina. Your message is just going to resonate and just keep resonating there. And you'll be able to share your video with, a multitude of people. And your words are going to change some people's lives. And you're going to touch a lot of people. And I really, I really appreciate it. But before I cut your video off, I want you again to share your website, your email address or text number, whatever, please, if you would, please, Regina.
I'd be honored. Thank you. It's internalpeacenow.com. And you can also text me at yoga, the word yoga, to 64600. That's the best way to reach me, those two ways.
Great. Thank you so very much. And now I'm going to do this techie stuff behind the scene. When I'm on the radio, I always tease Ben about, I'm sure glad that you're there because you take care of all the techie stuff. And I've got to turn on Brooks' video. I have to start video and unmute him. And let me cut this. Stop that video there. And Brooke, how are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing well, sir. Can you hear me okay?
I hear you loud and clear. Sure do. And I just want to, share with the audience that you're going to be talking to us about the big chill.
That is correct.
Good deal. And for you folks looking at Brooke and watching his video and all, the scenery behind him is where he lives. And you're in the beautiful location of, is it Boulder, Colorado?
That is correct.
Good deal.
Yep.
Well, you're going to be talking to us today about the big chill. And let me do a couple of things here. First of all, let me give you the spotlight video. That way people can see you much better and also take in that beautiful scenery there. And let me shut off my video camera and my mic, and the stage is yours.
Good morning, everybody. And I would like to thank the Speakers Coalition to have an opportunity to share with all of you a lesson that I have learned that has paid great dividends. And before I begin, I would like to ask a question. And the question is, have you ever been in a conversation with somebody and all of a sudden the other person just stops and looks at you and they say, "Are you even listening to me?" If that has happened to you, hold that thought. It was December 16th, exactly 6 months ago today. And I was lying on my back on a hospital gurney. I had an IV in my arm, in my neck, and in my abdomen. And I was draped with a sheet. And this hospital orderly is pushing me down the hallway to the operating room. And as I go into the operating room where it's frightfully cold, there are 12 people in there with hats and masks and gowns, and nobody is saying anything. And they stop me, and I'm looking around, and all of a sudden, my anesthesiologist walks over to me, and he looks down at me, and he says, Are you okay? And I look up at him and I'm going, yeah, I think so. Because right next to me is the heart-lung machine that they are going to connect me to keep me alive for the next 5.5 hours. The reason why is because I am having open heart surgery. And my surgeon is going to go in and replace my aortic valve because the one that I had was failing. And he also needs to repair an aortic aneurysm where my aortic blood vessel had swollen, and they cut out about 2.5 to 3 inches of that vessel and replaced it with a piece of fabric that they say will last the rest of my life. I don't remember any of the surgery, but after 5.5 hours, and I am still groggy, they take me out of the operating room and they send me over to the intensive care unit, which is typically the procedure. And the most wonderful thing that I've always remembered as I was being pushed towards the ICU unit after the surgery, and I guess everything had gone pretty well, but there, standing before me, were both of my daughters who wanted to be there with me to help me with my recovery. And it meant so much to me that they were there to support me in this healing process. Because when I got into the intensive care unit, the nurse who was in there reminded me of a nurse from a movie a long time ago called One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. And the nurse in that movie, her name was Nurse Ratched. And this nurse was barking orders and commands to me and what I needed to do and what I needed to expect. And because I'm still full of all this anesthesia, it's really hard for me to understand her or to really listen to her. But she was passionate, she was forceful, and she was impactful for me, but also for my daughters. And sure enough, after being in there for just 1/2 of a day and overnight, I stabilized so well that they released me from the intensive care unit and they pushed me down the hallway to my hospital room, where I was going to probably be there for 10, maybe 14 days recovering from this severe operation. And my girls went with me, and both of my girls are in their 30s, and they're kind of making the room comfortable, and they get me situated in this room, and the girls are looking around, making sure I've got everything. And then what happened was these nurses would come into the room, and they would look at my chart, and then they would look at me, and then they'd look at my chart, and they would say, "You are not what I was expecting. After what you've had done in the operating room, you look like you're on your way to recovery." And I thought, well, whatever, I feel the same. But what was happening in this hospital room is that for the next 2 to 3 days, I was meeting with dietitians. I was meeting with nurses. I was meeting with occupational therapists and physical therapists, and they would sit and visit with me, and I would listen so well and ask thoughtful questions and took notes because I wanted to learn as much as I could about how to bring myself back and be released from the hospital as soon as possible. And so for the next 2 to 3 days, meeting with all these professionals and listening so well to each and every one of them, my daughters, after the last one left, my daughters come over to me and they go, "Dad, when did you become so chill?" And I go, "Well, what do you mean by that?" "Dad, we have been watching you interact with all of these health professionals, and you are listening to them so closely, asking such great questions, we can tell that you are feeling different. And Dad, when we were growing up, you never listened to us like that. You always wanted us to hurry up. You would only listen to reply. And now, today, watching you listen to these professionals, Dad, it looks like it's done something for your health. And I put my hand on my heart, and I still remember it today because they are exactly right. I, for the last 3 years, have worked so hard on becoming a better listener. And the reason why is because we've got 2 of these and only 1 of those. And we should be listening twice as much as we speak. And sure enough, that is exactly what happened to me in the hospital recovery room. And I was telling my daughters that I kept feeling this sense of optimism, this sense of enthusiasm as I was talking to these health professionals. And sure enough, what happened over this time is that I started, and I call it creating the dome of optimism. And that's exactly what I did as I started to recover and learn from all of these professionals how I was going to not only recover more quickly, but recover and be in amazing health. And that is the message that I want to send to all of you today. Because 6 years ago, I joined a group called Toastmasters. And Toastmasters, I joined so that I could become a better speaker. But that is not the lesson that I learned from Toastmasters. The most valuable lesson that I learned from this speaking club is I've learned to become a better listener. And when that happened, the world opens up possibilities. There's trust, there's transparency, there's amazing opportunities to connect with people when you really listen. And that's exactly what I did to recover from this serious heart operation. And I was released from the hospital in 4 days. Started rehab, and I was cleared to go back to my regular life on February the 1st. I share that with you today because I feel all of us have an opportunity, and I want to challenge you to become a better listener. Thank you so much. I'm going to share my information with you so that you can, and again, that is my talk for today. Thank you.
Hey, Brooke, can you share your screen because we couldn't see the website, sir, please?
It says host disabled attendee screen sharing.
Okay, well, I apologize for that. You know,
That's okay.
ladies and gentlemen, good help's hard to find, especially on my end here. Let's see here, allow. Regina just sent me a message here. Let's see what she'll probably tell me how to do it. Okay, what a powerful message to you, Brooke. Ladies and gentlemen, let me pause here just a minute. And Brooke, I'll give you the time to do that. Active speaker, raise hand, allow panelists to start video. Okay, I'll do that. But that's not.
Yeah, I can't share my screen, it says.
Well, I'll tell you what, we'll do this a simple way then. Let me do this here.
This is where I call them the tech angels. They're in the wings waiting. They're on their way.
Okay, let's see here. Let me do this here. I'm going to make you the host for right now, Brooke, and then that way you can do it. And because I don't know what I'm not doing here, ladies and gentlemen. So this is the wonderful thing about being live. Can you do it now?
I am.
All right.
Can you see that?
Yes, sir, we can.
There you have it.
Workshops, seminars, keynotes, consulting, Brooke at Brooke Chestnut.
Chestnut.com. And there's my phone number.
Wow. Great, great, great. Now, if you'd be kind enough to stop the share of your screen. And let me go back to being the host here, promote myself back again if I can. This is why when I'm on the radio, ladies and gentlemen, I really appreciate what Ben Horlander, our producer, does for us, because it just really makes a huge difference. And let's see, here we go. Man, this thing is not wanting to, it's popping up the chat, everything that I do here. So, okay, there we go. I saw a button down there. There we go. Now, this has been a lot of fun. You know, even though I've been on the radio for many times, it just really is interesting when things go wrong. And that's what you do. You just go ahead and continue to march. And Regina, let me cut your video back on. And can you cut your video on? Did you get a request from me? Regina, are you there?
It said it can't start. Host has stopped it.
I don't know what I'm doing wrong here with this thing today. Normally I don't have as much trouble with it, but let's see.
It'll come back together.
Oh yeah, it sure will. Most importantly, because I want to bring Regina back for just a few moments because she has such a powerful message. And I'm looking here and all the things are, everything is activate speaker
Could it be
view.
maybe on the bottom on the three dots?
That's what I'm looking at right now. Allow panelist video. Okay, let's try it again. Did that work?
There we go. Yep.
Good.
It
did. Sometimes I really think that, let me stop the video on this one here. Cancel the spotlight. There we go. And this way here, whenever whoever's talking, you see the picture frame light up. And that way, who's being on the spotlight when someone is seeing it. But thank you both, number one, for being patient with me. And like I tell people, sometimes when it comes to this techie stuff, I'm a little mentally challenged. And I was talking to someone the other day about how we talk about the left brain and the right brain. And I said, well, I don't know about that because I've never took mine out to look at it, but that would explain why I suffer from MS. And I said, I'm not talking about multiple sclerosis. I'm talking about mental separation sometimes. Gotta have a sense of humor. But starting with you, Regina, first of all, I'd like for you to, just once again, remind people who you are, and also thank you for being here. In any closing comments that you'd like to make to Brooke about his presentation or anything else, please do so because this camera's yours now.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, it's interesting. Brooke and I are just chatting a little bit in the chat, and I'm just so grateful today for being alive and just having our breath, like really grateful for the existence of humanity and everything that we're going through, that we get to experience this, even the crazy chaos, right? That's all part of the magic. And if we can just remember it's for our opportunity to grow. And I love being able to do that. So I'm easiest to be reached at internalpeacenow.com and also by text at yoga. You can text the word yoga to 64600. And I'm so happy that I'm part of this community now. I really like the energy of Speakers Coalition. So thanks for having me.
Well, thank you very much. It's really an honor for us to have you at the Speakers Pathway Coalition. For those of you folks who want to know more about the different speakers we've had on Messages of Inspiration, Hope, and Support, please go to speakerspathway.com. speakerspathway.com. And if you'd like to know more about the 6-minute webinar that we're kicking off, we're in the pre-launch right now, going to be kicking off next week, just go to 6minutewebinar.com. Or you can join us on Facebook and learn about everything that we're doing there. We're very excited about it. If we can help you, we'll be glad to do it. And Brooke, I tell you right now, brother, you had me going there because, I remember, I got to tell a little story out of school. me and a friend of mine, we were going in, we were both serving in the reserves. We had to go in for physicals. And so we go in for our physicals, and then after we have our EKGs done and all that, we go over to see the doctor. And the doctor calls my friend in, and he looks at his chart, and he says, "Are you feeling okay?" My friend said yes, because his family had a long history of heart attacks and things of this nature. And his brother had just suffered a heart attack about a week before. And the doctor says, according to this chart, you shouldn't be feeling good at all. So they went back and they did another EKG, and what they realized, they had crossed a couple of the nodes. And then the doctor called him in and says, "Hey, your heart looks real good." He says, "Your heart rate's up a little bit." Imagine that. But
Yeah.
Brooke, you've been there, and you know how it feels when a medical staff looks at you and says, "Are you okay?" I mean, brother, I tip my hat to you. The stage is yours.
The key point here is I was born with a bicuspid aortic valve. And instead of 3, 4, I only have 2. And at the age of 46, the valve gave away, and I had to have it replaced 16 years ago. And it was supposed to last 20 years. It only lasted 16 because December 16th, I was short of breath and I had to get it replaced right away. So I got my second time. My chest has been open to do this. But the aneurysm was another piece. But the first surgery, I was impatient. I was younger. I was not a good listener. This time, my daughters made the point, and it has stuck with me. And now I talk about leadership. I talk about listening. I talk about, impacting culture and having people really connected to you. And Regina, my mom and dad, they're not alive anymore. And your message about your folks and where you are with your family was so inspiring and so great. And I hope everyone has a chance to do that with their families, because I don't get to do that anymore. However, I do have my daughters and my granddaughter, and I have never felt better than I do right now.
It's really an inspiring story there, because it's a great message too, because, in the end, love is what it's all about. That's what's so valuable that money cannot buy. And, I tell people, my dad passed away in 1978, so he took a lot of the family history and a lot of things that I wish I knew today to the grave. And I tell people, especially when your parents are getting up there, sit down with them and just, make notes from time to time, or talk to them or whatever, because, my mother, for example, if I can share this boring story with you right quick, mother made her own barbecue sauce from scratch. And I can tell you, my goodness gracious, it was some of the most delicious barbecue sauce we'd ever tasted. And so one day I thought, wow, I'm going to call up my sisters and find out what the recipe was, because I like to, try to experiment with it at home. My 3 sisters, one remembered this, another one remembered that, and then she did that too, and she did this, but no one really knew the recipe. Plus the fact mother just kind of like, she used her eye as the measuring device. She just had that touch. And, we all have our special dishes from our moms and our grandmothers. But the reason why it's so special, and the reason why their food tastes so good, you know what? The secret ingredient that they add that no food manufacturer can add? They make it with hands of love. You know what I mean? Oh, man, that just puts the icing on the cake for me.
So true.
But Regina and Brooke, thank you so very, very, very much for being here. And
thank you, Jim.
Yes.
Thank you, Jim. And thank you, Regina.
Much.
Likewise. Thank you, gentlemen. This was fun.
Really good stuff. Appreciate it.
Inspiring.
Yep.
Be sure and visit us at speakerspathway.com. The messages of inspiration, hope, and support. Our other speakers have been there, and click on their messages. And most importantly, the reason why we put this show on, the reason why Brooke and Regina are with us today, is so that you or someone you love, or know as a friend, whatever, you can share their message with them, because that's what it's all about. We're about helping one another, supporting one another, and because we're all going to get out of this mess together. But most importantly, remember this: it's not what you say, it's how you made someone feel that's what they remember about you. Brooke
Okay.
and Regina, thank you again.
Jim.
Everybody wave bye and
Have a great day, everybody.
Bye. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you,
You're
Jim.
quite welcome. Thank you so much, and have a blessed day, and be sure and share the messages with someone else. I'm Jim Grant. Join me on the radio. Your future is now on TogiNet, TIGNET.com, every Friday, 12 noon Eastern time. And if you go to TogiNet and you click on shows, you can see we're alphabetical, so the Your Future is Now is way down at the bottom. But just click on that, and all of our podcasts are there on the right. You can download any of our podcasts, and please share them with anyone. Thank you again. Have a blessed day. Take care of yourself. Bye-bye.